Hello there, folks, and welcome to the Season 9 finale of Sunday Night Live. I apologize for the delay, but it's been necessary because of the fact that Vegas was just acting up. Because, a month ago, nearly a month ago, I asked, what did you want as a season finale for the longest running season of Real Features? Again, we've already gone over multiple explanations as to why this season's been going on for a year. Let's not go on further. I gave the option Superman versus Man of Steel or Power Rangers versus Power Rangers, and you all voted for Power Rangers versus Power Rangers, so you will get that later today. And I think I can say, hey Gwen, I think I can say, I'll be having a lot of initial conversations with Mr. Rikaku. By the way, check out his live stream for Sonic Colors. Raiden will be going in later. It's like, okay, I hear Mr. Rikaku lost his mind over this game. I'm just gonna grab the popcorn, the hot dogs, and the big orange soda. I'm gonna be here a while. Here's him screaming. Ah! This warms me. This warms me.
I haven't heard him rage that much since he was playing Haruka sections in Yakuza 5.
Yeah.
And he lightened up a little bit when I gave him the 12 annoyances of owning Rikaku, and then ended with, and 1,000 bits to do with as you please. Let's make me feel a little better. I mean, I haven't heard him rage like that since, like, season 6 or 7 of RDR. I know, it might have been season 7 because of when Los Matadores were introduced with El Torito.
Oh no!
That was bad. But yeah, I think it's looking more and more likely that next season we will take SKL over to Twitch, because I've seen people do trailer reactions to the Sonic 2 trailer on Twitch, and from what I've seen and heard, no one seems to kick up a stink about it, because they even have watch parties over on Twitch, and they're like, hey, as long as you're not, doing copyright infringement, as long as you're not saying stuff and doing stuff you shouldn't be doing, come on over.
And we could always upload it to YouTube afterwards.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So it's not like SKL is gone forever and it's gone over to the Raiden network where you have to pay $2.99 a month for his awesomeness glory. It's like, oh, sir, you flatter me. But nah, I think it's probably the best foot forward. I mean, Lids, ever since Oni went over to Twitch, he seems to have grown his brand as a content provider, rather, because it's not like he wasn't getting anywhere on YouTube, but we have noticed over the years, because the audience on YouTube has just gotten bigger with like millions of uploads per day. With Twitch, it's big, but it's not as big as YouTube. There's a way of finding a niche that way.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm going to say something with regards to things that are big. Yesterday was the 57th birthday of arguably the greatest WWE champion of all time, the Texas Rattlesnake himself, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Hey!
Man.
He celebrated on his Instagram, threw his jacket off, grabbed 2 cans of his IPA beer, Broken Skull beer, and you hear the glass breaking, double toast the cans, flips the bird off, and even Rock showed on his on his Instagram. Goes like, "Fuck yeah, brother! Happy Born Day." I'll say this as brief as possible, as I know I'm going on prolonged tangents, but easily and quite arguably the biggest and greatest world champion the WWE has ever seen. Everyone's saying, he wouldn't be there if he went for Hogan. It's like, yeah, but people could identify and relate with Austin. I mean, Hogan was basically a Saturday morning cartoon superhero, but Austin was like the most relatable because he was the blue collar working man. He was the guy that hates 9 to 5, hates being told he can't do this and can't do that, and he did the one thing that all of us would love to do: tell our disgruntled superiors where to go and too damn bad if you don't like it. And probably had the best finishing maneuver of any wrestler. I mean, the stunner is iconic. Granted, it's not a move he came up with. I mean, it was originally created by Michael Hayes, but for Austin, it suited him. And, you know, when you think of the very short time he had as world champion from 98 until 2001. Granted, there were only 6 reigns, but he made the best of it.
Yeah.
I
feel like half of the time he didn't even need the belt, but I feel like when he won that belt in 98 against HBK, you know, like JR said, the Austin era has begun, and yeah, he was popular, and I think ever since that whole thing with that great feud he had with Bret Hart at WrestleMania 13, that infamous double turn,
yep,
you know, he became more popular. Like a guy that was, you know, rebel, anti-hero, but still people love that stuff. I mean, here's the thing: people love superheroes, but they don't like that clean cut, like Superman type. Even though, like, over the years had some moments about him, but still, you have a guy that, you know, brawler, but even before that whole unfortunate neck injury he suffered, definitely a really good technician, but he's always known to be like a, you know, Street Fighter type brawler stuff. You know what I mean? It's more of a guy that curses, drinks beers, defies authority. And to be fair, people who have like a lot of shitty jobs, like, you can identify with the guy a little bit because of the fact, like, you could just beat your boss like on many occasions.
Oh yeah. I do agree with the sentiment. He didn't need the belt, but
yeah,
as he has said, rightfully, time in and time out, if you're not here to be the champion, you shouldn't work here. And I agree with that sentiment wholesale, because I mean, it's a similar situation with Daniel Bryan, Taker, Rey Mysterio. They didn't need the belt, but it's like, oh, do you want to be world champion? Yes, please. Because you know what comes with it. You know that, hey, I get to fulfill a lifelong dream, and you get, a nice little pay rise. I mean, Triple H said on his 2002 DVD, The Game, there's the truth and then there's the show. But in that one instance, they match. Because, when you're a kid, you look up to, whether it's Bret Hart, whether it's Michaels, Austin, or Rock, you see them with the belt, and it's like, as much as I despise the 2004 Thunderbirds movie, the one shot with Alan when he sees his brothers going by is like, I wish that was me. That one moment where any fan will look at the champions, their favorite champions with the belt, and it's like, I want to be them. Dan's asking, what am I doing with what are my Christmas wishes? Number 1, the world to go back to normal, depending on your definition of normal.
Mhm.
2. This one's trivial, but I think a lot of muscle car enthusiasts can relate to this. Not to have the Mach E Mustang replace the regular Mustang in 2030. I'm sorry, I'm not driving the Karen Mobile. Fuck that noise. I would rather drive an electric Volkswagen Golf GTE than drive, I'm not calling it the Mach E, I'm calling it the Karen E. What's another one?
You mean that van you showed us one time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that ain't a Mustang, man.
That shit was ugly. You'd be better off driving a Prius.
Oh no, don't. Oh god. I think I actually uploaded that one time of Oni actually going full on mental mode. Where is it? Where is it?
Oh dear.
Where is it? I need to see this. Oh. Or was it under his former?
Hey.
Under his former. Okay. I wonder if. Oh god, I found it.
Oh, dear God.
Oh my god. Okay. Okay. Prepare for Oni Rage.
Oh, Jesus Christ, no.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!
Oh.
I'm scared, but let's do this.
Okay.
Now remember,
Wait.
folks, this is from March of 2012. This was a different time.
It
Oh,
really
that'll mean
was.
that means that by next year it'll be 10 years old. This clip.
Yes.
Oh my god.
I wish it was 10 years old.
Oni,
I was 10 years
I'm
younger.
sorry, dude, but I hear Prius mentioned, and I'm like, oh no.
Mm.
Is everyone at 0?
I'm at 0.
Yes.
No.
3, 2, 1. I'm sorry, dude. Play.
And I'm taking over for this segment again.
Oh
no.
Go on.
Michael Cole interviews AJ on a recovery. Michael Cole's in the ring. Boo this man! Boo! Anyway, and he introduces
Boo.
AJ. AJ comes out in the neck brace. Originally, I thought she was going to go heel, but instead she ripped Cole a new one.
Oh. I haven't seen anyone verbally owe Michael Cole this much since Maurice.
Anyway,
You nerd.
Cole then goes back and says, "Listen here, honey. What are you, gay?"
Yeah.
Can't say that today.
Anyway,
Oh my God, Oni,
Cole
what the
begins
fuck?
to say people are saying that AJ has no self-respect. What
Like
do you
you
expect
said,
from
this
dating
was a
vegan?
very different time.
And that
Yeah,
at
I
the
think
Elimination
they did.
Chamber,
It's like
her and Daniel
2016.
Bryan will be nothing more than footnotes in WWE history. Guess who's pissed?
Daniel Bryan.
Daniel Bryan
Mm-hmm.
comes out and says, Cole says one more word to AJ, he'll break both his arms.
Please do that.
Do it!
Don't give me ideas.
Do it! Do it!
Cole gives AJ the microphone and is like, I'm out of here. Bryan says AJ has been through enough and doesn't need to be verbally harassed. He says he has news for everyone. He is more than just a footnote. He is a great wrestler. He is the World Heavyweight Champion. He is a role model.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
vegan! No one cares.
Ryan says he took a nature walk this past Sunday. Pussy.
Wait, what?
Seriously, if you take a nature walk, you're a pussy. Give me your man card.
Oh my god!
Just hand it along to Triple H. He needed after saying, "I love you, Pop, and I'm sorry."
I'll give him the man card. While everyone else was watching the Super Bowl,
Don't.
UK people didn't watch the Super Bowl, so why do they have to be included in it?
Yeah.
Oh.
The rest of the world's not gonna get that. I'm sorry.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Especially Madonna, where
Ugh.
outside. Wait a minute. I was like, wait a minute. I thought she was dead. Oh no, wait a minute. That's her career.
Oh.
Anyway,
If you take a nature walk, you're a
Ryan
pussy.
asked
What
while
the?
they were suffering in a face
No.
the
Oh.
animals would murder them
What?
animals
Oh my
and
god.
drinking soda.
Okay. I'm listening on
And
different
what's wrong with
headphones
drinking
because
the
I
few
can't.
cans?
I can't hear
Nothing.
only on my right
Ryan
headphones.
says
And
he
I'm catching
recycles.
up, and I'm like,
Gentlemen, throw your cans
Why?
on the
oh,
floor.
bro,
No one cares.
cool.
And he cares
Okay,
about the environment and
okay,
future
bad analogy.
generations. Yeah, I'm gonna go shit in the back.
Oh.
He kisses her on the head and hugs her, and people
Oh
have been so
god.
inhospitable to her.
Hold on.
No, we haven't. AJ's hot. She's been traumatized enough that they're leaving in the arena. I get you not in a Prius. Oh,
Oh no! Oh no!
get out of the way, people. We got a madman here. I best get off the road and retire my license. He's got a Prius.
A what?
So where's the price?
Prius, whatever.
Exactly, yes.
Shit car.
This is stupid. Okay, I get it. You're a vegan and all that, but Prius, whatever. I don't know. No. For God's sake, do the CM Punk route. Say you're the best in the world. I don't care anymore. Just
Let it out, dude, let it out.
take up for MJ, please.
Damn.
Oh god.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, classic Oni Rakaku.
Thankfully, he's oh, how do I put this? Evolved beyond
Yes,
that since then.
yes.
He still gets rageful, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But he's moved on from that.
Oh dear. It's just when someone mentions Toyota Prius, I remember thinking, oh god, I remember when he went off on one on RDR back in the day. Like,
Yes, Prius, whatever.
Oh, yeah, my man wasn't on Ritalin because goddamn.
oh, you should have heard him at SummerSlam 2010. Ugh.
Oh god, I can already imagine.
That was
How
one.
bad was it?
It was the first time we'd ever heard the comparison of Rey Mysterio to Pikachu.
What?
Mysterio.
Oh no.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I get, nearly 10 years removed, I get where he was coming from saying, when we say we don't care about vegans, it's not in the context of saying we don't care about them. We didn't care for the way that angle was being forced down people's throats. It's the same morally ambiguous heels that, anything from right to censor to the un-Americans is like, oh, we know better than you. We're good people, even though we're going to act like shit heels.
No, it's like, no, you're not.
So when he says we don't care about vegans, it's the sense of we don't care for the way the angle is being forced down our throat. Because here's the thing. To me, if you're vegan or not, it's like, as long as you're a decent person, you go do what you want. you know, as long as you're not breaking the law, as long as you're not harassing somebody, do what you want. But again, it's just the way the angle was forced down, and we allow, you know, characters like Venom to get away with saying "pussy," in his movie to, you know, sort of mark down how Eddie Brock was being less than brave. But to hear like, Bran took a nature walk last Sunday, pussy, you sort of think, you can't do that today, dude. I'm sorry. And then here's like, he cares about the environment. Yeah, I'm gonna go shit out in the bag. Like, oh, nice, nice.
Why, Oni? Why?
2012, different time. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. There have been times where we've said stuff on YouTube back in the day where, you know, if we use Married with Children as an example, the stuff that Al Bundy would come out with back in the day, that would be deemed as socially acceptable because that's how the world was. Whereas today, they're looking like, you can't really say that anymore. Or it's like how back in the 90s, you could get away with saying what would be derogatory terms for members of the LGBTQ community. Because back then, it's like, it's seen as socially acceptable. Whereas now, it's like, nah, you can't do that now. So, I don't think it's a case of what Oni said was necessarily inflammatory or derogatory. It's more along the lines of, you could still say it today, but it would just be looked upon much more of a dim view than usual. Mancard, that one's debatable. I think, you know, if you're doing something that's clearly looking less than courageous when you actually have the ability to be so, I think you could get away with that. I think it just depends on the context of the situation in question. The line of saying to Michael Cole, "What are you, gay?" It's like, if he had said it today, it's like, "What are you, a wuss?" He'd be like, "Okay, no one will think twice about it."
The only time I remember that was in that Futurama episode, Amazon Women in the Mood, and when Fry and Zap heard they're gonna die by Snoo Snoo, they were happy, but Kim was like, and Zap's like, "What are you, gay?"
I mean, it's in a similar historical accuracy, because in Bohemian Rhapsody, when Freddie is teaming up with Brian May and Roger Taylor for the first time, Freddie is referred to from one member of the pub crowd by a derogatory term for Asians. I'm not going to go saying it out loud, but in the 70s, people would think that was socially acceptable. But if it was being filmed in today's context, no, it wouldn't be allowed. But because it's the 70s, you have to be era authentic. Whether that's right or wrong today, no. But it's like if you make a movie about the Wild West. You know, if we use Wild Wild West as an example, there was a fair bit of racist dialogue between Loveless and Will Smith, but it was done in a way whereby it's kind of one of those, how do I phrase this? It's wink, wink sort of dialogue where you know what they're saying, but it's not necessarily crossing that line. If anything, it's walking on the line, if that makes any sense.
The thing with Loveless, it was like he was very flamboyant. Definitely had women henchmen and shit. So like,
yeah,
and I kind of got that.
Yeah, and of course Will would just be like, oh, you know them ladies, they just cut your legs out from underneath. And I'm like, yeah, he's not taking any prisoners either. I like how we went from Steve Austin to Oni throwing a rant as his former persona on Toyota Prius, vegans, the Super Bowl, and then to Wild Wild West. I think for me, the best WWE title match that Austin ever had, whether getting the belt back or going in as champion, I think WrestleMania 17 and probably was one match that was was really geared for him as champion. Might have been the first of the two matches that he had for the Undisputed Championship, which, can you believe, 20 years ago this month. I'm of the opinion I think they probably could have settled the undisputed title situation maybe at WrestleMania, because I felt like settling it at Vengeance, I don't know. And here's the thing with Jericho. You'd think that would have elevated his career, but no. The only thing it gave him was his first ever WrestleMania main event. But his undisputed title reign, he went up against Rock, Austin, and Triple H. I mean, he put Triple H over, but I don't know. His first reign was not seen as monumental, and his first night holding those two titles, he celebrated by being locked out of his hotel room and having cold pepperoni pizza,
which fell on the floor.
Ugh. Yeah, and he didn't know he was going to be champion until he was told that night.
Yeah, by Vincent Undertaker.
Yeah. So
that was a shock to the system.
Yeah. I mean, I would have thought, some wrestlers would be told maybe a week or two in advance, but to be told on the night, it's like, oh, okay. And whilst we're on the subject of, unifications, I'm still of the opinion, to this day, that the WWE and World Heavyweight Championship unifications at TLC 2013 should have been a 4-man tournament. It should have had Cena, Orton, Punk, and Bryan. Because let's be honest, the only two people we wanted to see compete that night was Punk and Bryan. We didn't want to see Orton and Cena for the Undisputed Championship Mark II. I mean, they go and say, oh, it's the first ever WWE World Heavyweight Champion. It was called the WWF World Heavyweight title during the early to mid 90s. They love to do their revisionist history. I still referred to it as the Undisputed title because it's an undisputed champion in WWE. When you have combined the two of them, it's like, well, we got to call the WWE Universal titles, should they ever refuse. Are we calling them the WWE World Heavyweight Universal Champion? And also, why didn't they just resurrect the World Heavyweight title belt? At least that had its own look. granted, it's using the old Ric Flair big gold belt, but at least it stood out. Whereas with the Universal title, it's basically the DeviantArt belt of the WWE. It's a recolor. I don't know. Although, with regards to the Undisputed title, I still love, to this day, the first night of the brand split. One of the very few times in the brand split that Raw was under the WWF, we had the Undisputed Championship belt that the likes of Triple H, Taker, Brock, Angle, and the late Eddie Guerrero wore. And, this is where Raiden and I are on, common ground. That is probably the best, last decent-looking World Heavyweight title belts they ever had. And it was actually created by a tattoo artist. Because I get with the idea of the spinner belt, it was something different. But today, the world title belts are not title belts. The only one that looks remotely credible, and I don't even like this design, it's the current United States title. Because again, I prefer the Ruthless Aggression era. But, that's me. So, probably the best... Actually, what was the best Undisputed title match during its short reign? Because obviously it was from Vengeance 2001 up until SummerSlam 2002. What was the best match? I'm going to say it's a tie between when Hogan came back and beat Triple H, because that was a good match. We have our opinions about Hogan, but for the character, it was deserved. Or that crazy match we got at Vengeance 2002 with Taker, Angle, and Rock all using their own moves against each other. It just seems so weird. You see Rock hitting a choke slam on Taker, Taker putting the Angle slam on Kurt, and Rock putting the Angle lock on Angle. Which was setting up for Rock versus Brock at SummerSlam 2002, which that match was It was alright. But, I don't know.
It's more of a benchmark to elevate Brock to be one of the new guys,
Personally,
I actually enjoyed it.
I think for me, good match, but I think he was elevated too quickly. I think he needed a little more... If he had become champion, say, at Armageddon or the Royal Rumble the year after, I'd have said, okay, fair enough. But he'd only been in the business 4 months by that point. It's like, I don't know, dude.
I don't know about that. I'm gonna have to respectfully disagree on that. I mean,
That's fine.
I get it. I mean, SummerSlam in a sense was a big benchmark for him because, I mean, remember he debuted at WrestleMania, demolished the Hardys, then won King of the Ring, then won the belt, and dominated the Undertaker in his own match. Fortunately, I don't understand why they ended the whole thing with him and Heyman quickly. Okay, I kind of got it because Big Show was dangerous, and after that, Big Show took out Undertaker before Survivor Series. But yeah, in a sense, like I don't know why they had to end his first title reign. But yeah, for me, it's like it was more of. I think it was more the company like really actually making a new star because. Nowadays it's all about the company, not the stars themselves. So when I look back at that, I actually applaud them for doing that.
And of course, the closest we ever got to Brock versus Austin was the last SmackDown before WrestleMania 20 when he reclaimed his four-wheeler. That was the closest we ever got, and Stone Cold came out on top. But we've seen over time. You try to make Austin heel, it just doesn't work. It'd be like,
Looking back at that, he was paranoid a little bit and some stuff. It was pretty funny. I mean, it wasn't too bad. I know he hated being heel at that time, but honestly, when you look back at some of the Asian stuff, it was pretty funny.
And of course, if he never went heel, we would never have gotten the "what" chant, which is still going on to this day.
Pretty much.
I love it when it catches people like Miz off guard. Like, it was like 2 months after he dropped the belt. No, it was a month after he dropped the belt to Cena. And fans are chanting, "What?" It's like, it's not 2001. It's not funny. What? And Punk referring to MJF as a less famous Miz. Ouch.
Burn.
Very. But yeah. Long tangent going on, longer than it should have. Many happy returns to the Texas Rattlesnake. My favorite wrestler of all time, Punk. Very close second. But, Austin is Austin. Obviously, this question won't relate to Steve because, he's not a wrestling fan. Lids, Raiden, was arguably your favorite match of Austin, or even a moment where you're like, okay, I enjoyed that?
For me, I always go back to his matches with Bret Hart. I mean, yeah, a lot of people says Rock was his most ideal opponent, but for me, if you want to go for like Clash of Styles, I definitely go with Austin versus Bret Hart, which I think was better than Bret Hart versus HBK because it didn't have malice behind it, because this happened the tail end before the Survivor Series. Him and HBK couldn't stand each other. Not to mention Sean was known to be a little shit backstage.
Yes.
So with those two, it was always about like competition / I hate what you're about, blah blah blah. You're this guy who represents great wrestling. I represent something different. Their whole match with Survivor Series '96 was really good, with Bret Hart returning. That was good, and of course their famous WrestleMania 13 match, where that image of Austin screaming in the sharpshooter and with just blood splashing on his face, blood just like pouring on his face. That stuff like that, I always like, wow. So I think those two are my favorite matches. Another one would probably be, I don't know, I guess SummerSlam between him and Angle. For me, I'm a big stickler for Styles splashing. Even though it ended in a disqualification, you could tell that they were really building Angle as this. They were really building Angle as this guy who can topple Austin. And Austin got desperate, qualified, and there you go. Also, quick side note, I really like how JR was grilling him, was like, Austin can't beat Angle, that's why he's qualified. I'm like, that's how you. I mean, I know JR and Austin are like this, so like I can understand that. Let's see, moments. Too many to name, but probably. Probably almost killing Triple H in Survivor Series 2000.
Oh God, I remember that.
The one where I think he was on a forklift.
Yep.
Something like that. He had oh my Jesus Christ! I mean, I kind of understand since Triple H was the guy that was behind Austin getting run over. So there's that. Even though it's looked at as the after effects of that heel turn was bad, the fact that you saw Austin and Vince shaking hands, that had
Yeah.
that had me like, what? After all these years that Austin was beating the crap out of McMahon, he now works with him. I'm like, that shit was a giant betrayal in a lot of people's eyes. So
Yep.
I think those are my moments. Also just a little bit more. Anytime he's on his ATV, the ultimate vehicle he'd be riding when he was like sheriff.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, those are my moments. For me, Austin for me was one of the gatekeepers of me like fully getting the wrestling. So I definitely thank him for that. Like he was one of those guys that he was the big face, and he wasn't supposed to. But after Bret Hart leaving after that screw job, he had no choice.
Yep.
It's like, the crazy thing is WWE, when they're backed into a corner and when the fans like what they like, they do it.
Yep.
And nowadays, it's like, for example, Kofi Mania. I still think great moment, but the WWE title reign was kind of shit. But back then, when Austin was over, they kept going.
Yep.
And that's what I miss what WWE does nowadays. Now people have to go through more hoops like AEW and other companies.
Yep.
So with Austin, after Hogan, he was the biggest star of them all. So I tip my hat to the Rattlesnake. Happy birthday to the dude. Hells yeah.
Lids, same questions for you.
Again, as a kid, I was introduced into wrestling by my brother, who was a big Stone Cold Steve Austin fan. I think to some degree he is, but I think he does have a special place in my heart. Like again, there's like nobody's perfect. He does have his skeleton, so I don't hold that against him. But at the time, he was very different than from the cookie cutter, like, good guys, if you will. I don't think he was a good guy. He seemed more like an anti-hero to me. Like the Punisher, but a wrestler. But he went into the ring, kicked ass, took names, and just like walked away. He didn't need to do anything else. And I'm like probably one of the few people that say that like his feud with Vince McMahon was actually, I liked it. It's like it's what got him attention. It's a batshit insane. To be fair, it was from a man who is a little batshit insane. I'm sorry, but other than that, it's again, Austin has a very special place in my heart, and it's like always will. And his rivalry with The Rock is something of legends that has not been topped in a very long time, and I don't think it will. So I think it'll be interesting. So it's like, I'm glad that like he's still going, not in the ring anymore, but he's still around, and we can appreciate him as a person. So,
oh yeah.
Happy birthday to him. So like,
yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, you say he's got a few skeletons. The stuff that unfortunately led to his divorce with Deborah. That's been documented, and we're not going to get into the personal hows and whys that happened, but everyone knows. The thing I will give him credibility for is that he actually owned up to it and actually held his hand up and said, yes, I am making myself accountable. Which I thought, okay. He's like, I don't approve of what you did, but I like that you raised your hand up and said, I fucked up. And I think he's come out the other side being better for it. That's just my opinion. Because it's like, I like to use that line from Angel. Redemption's a great thing because you never stop getting chances at it. And I think in the 20 years, it's like, yeah, it's still going to hang over him, but it's just like he owns it and lives with it. And it's like, look, I own it, it doesn't own me. And he gets on with his life. And, you know, when some, you know, if we, you know, Oni has said things over the years that he regrets, but he doesn't let it, you know, own him. You know, he just gets on with his life and he does stuff that makes him happy. Except for playing Sonic Colors Upgrade Edition on Twitch.
Or the GTA, the Defective Edition.
Oh, don't even get me started on that. Well, it was his gameplay that made me cancel it. We're moving on from wrestling a moment, and this concerns McDonald's next. McDonald's just made a move to take back control from DoorDash and Uber Eats. McDonald's today announced a pair of deals with DoorDash and Uber Eats, opening the door for delivery to be integrated in McDonald's mobile app and giving more favorable items to McDonald's franchisees. Details of the deals were not disclosed publicly, and it should theoretically not change the consumer experience, but McDonald's touted potential for higher profits and more control. The company got into delivery in 2017 via an exclusive deal with Uber Eats, and delivery services have become more important to the bottom line than ever since the start of the pandemic. In 2017, there were fewer than 5,000 McDonald's locations offering delivery. Now, more than 30,000 of the company's 39,000 restaurants have the feature. What we're trying to do with these conversations is leverage the fact that we are the largest restaurant company in the world, and that we have an ability to drive traffic onto their apps, and that we think is second to none. CEO Chris Kempczinski told analysts in October, and that should be reflected in the rates that we're paying. According to the same Restaurant Business Report, about 20% of McDonald's global revenue now comes from digital sales, while curbside or in-restaurant pickups have become more common in the last year. It's safe to assume a big chunk of that estimated $13 billion in digital sales come from delivery orders. In the past, high cost of commissions paid to delivery companies had eaten into McDonald's ability to turn a profit with the service. Uber Eats typically takes between 15% and 30% of the order's cost to provide the restaurant with delivery services. While McDonald's has always been at the low end of the scale, that's still double digits. Mostly on items that are already fairly low cost and low margin. Other delivery services like DoorDash and Postmates have similar deals. At present, about 13,000 McDonald's locations use DoorDash, with a number of other vendors providing services, but Uber Eats dominating most of the non-DoorDash markets. Okay. It just sounds to me, based on that, it's just McDonald's are just having more of a say over how the home delivery gets done, which, you know, good on them, because, you know, that's it. Obviously, Lids, this concerns you. What are your thoughts? Sorry, folks, we seem to be having technicality issues with Lids' mic again.
Oh.
Alright, now we hear you. Go again.
Okay. Me or him?
Your thoughts on this, considering it concerns you?
Well, to be fair, again, we've gotten from the place I work at, we've gotten comfortable with the system. I don't see what the problem is, but if that's what they want to do, okay, but it's... We do get some, like, again, I'm not going to talk shop here because I want to avoid getting into trouble here.
Understandable. Understandable.
Badly about my restaurant. So,
no.
Again, it's an interesting move, but again, it's for me. It's wait and see. And again, if that changes anything at my place, we just barely installed kiosks at the restaurant to begin with after a remodel. Yes, remodel the place. That was fun. So, but other than that, like, again, for me, it's wait and see.
Okay. Steve, Raiden, any thoughts of that, or is this not something that really concerns you so much?
Well, for me, it just seems that they want to do their own system of how they do deliveries, which part of me just wants to think that they're trying to franchise their own delivery system, maybe have something called, I don't know, the McDelivery service.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, it just seems inevitable for me, considering how much business is going for them, especially with online. Because I remember the few times I've been to McDonald's, there's always been either a Uber Eats or Deliveroo driver there, just to pick up orders for home delivery customers.
All right. Raiden, do you have any thoughts for this, or is this not something that really concerns you too much?
I mean, I'm happy for anything, especially when it comes to deliveries, Uber Eats, DoorDash, Grubhub, doing their thing, and seeing other companies do their own thing, like Domino's and all that, Domino's, Little Caesars, and all those food places. I mean, like I said, it's cool. I mean, I don't eat in McDonald's as much as I do anymore, but like I said, I respect anyone who wanna keep doing the delivery game, because sometimes you don't wanna walk up or just like walk and just get your food here and there. It's more just like convenient to just use an app to see what food you want and delivers. Some customer service can be crazy. I've heard stories, but all in all, this is convenient for people. I respect it. So good on McDonald's for that.
I'm gonna admit,
Also, if you guys hear coughing, sorry, this weather is changing and my body can't take it.
Okay. I'm gonna be real. I only ever go into McDonald's sparingly. If I happen to be out in Bristol and I'm going to pick up donuts, I'll go in and have a meal. I mean, I had their McFestive burger, which not bad. I had mine without the bacon because bacon's just not my thing. And I see Goku from TFS later going, "You take that back." Yeah, because in Team 4-Star, Goku's heavy into things like the Baconator and what have you. But no,
Porker.
Oh yeah. But no, I go in occasionally and I still get what I want out of it. It's just, back in the day when it was like, if you were at high school, whenever you got to go to McDonald's, it was seen as awe-inspiring. When you go to it during college, which would be like once or twice a week, it was good, but then it gets to that point where you have it whenever you go in rarely, and it's just eh. So whenever I go over to the one on Avonmeads, which is my old neck of the woods, they always seem to put the right amount of salt on the fries, because I like them to be salty, but in a good way. So, yeah. We move on to McDonald's to who you gonna call? Ernie Hudson confirms new Ghostbusters video game in development.
Ooh.
A new Ghostbusters game has seemingly been confirmed by Ernie Hudson. The Winston Zeddemore actor recently appeared at Celebrity Fan Fest in San Antonio, Texas, which, by the way, at 75, you'd swear that this guy was 62 at least.
Yeah.
Asked or not whether he would be interested in doing another video game, Hudson surprised the moderator, stating that a new game is currently in the works and he's already in talks to record voice work. Unfortunately, the voice actor seemed to be unaware of specific details about the project, including whether it would take place in a time period closer to the original films or Ghostbusters Afterlife. I just got an email because we're doing another video game, so they're scheduling it now to do the recording. I'm not sure who's going to do it. I know me and Danny, I think. I'm not sure if Billy will do anything, so there will be another video game. He went on to say that he has received prototype images from the game for his likeness approval. The actor stated that the team has been struggling with his likeness, in particular, with previous attempts looking closer to Eddie Murphy, which is, as we all know, Murphy almost played Winston in the original movie. This seemed particularly frustrating, as the game's developers have apparently had much greater success with the likeness for Harold Ramis, Bill Murray, and Dan Aykroyd. Hopefully, the finished product will live up to Hudson's expectations. That particular question was posed to Hudson as the moderator noted that the love that so many fans have for Ghostbusters the video game. It is an awesome game. Debuting in 2009, the game reunited the 4 original actors in a story that takes place after the first 2 films. A remastered version of the game released on PS4, Switch, and Xbone in 2019. It remains to be seen whether the new game will manage to achieve a similar level of success or will it appear on similar platforms. Hopefully more information will be revealed in the future. Would you be interested in a new Ghostbusters game? Hell yes! Are you a fan of the most recent game? Yeah! Let us know in the comments below and share your thoughts directly on Twitter at Mark the Chap to talk all things gaming. I'm all for a new Ghostbusters game because the last one was so entertaining and so rewarding. I mean, I can't count the amount of times as a kid, how I wanted to be a Ghostbuster. When I was like 8 or 9, I always wanted to be Peter Venkman. Nearly 30 years later, I know better. But no, I mean, whether you grew up on the original movies or whether you grew up on the animated series from '86, because that was when Ghostbusters got over to a much wider audience as far as the kids were concerned. We all wanted a proton pack, which you can now do that with Hasbro development. And one of the very few times that, because they actually had, I think from Kenner Toys, replica ghost traps that if you actually pushed on the air pump handle, the trap door would actually open up, whereas I think you can get replicas, when I say look-alike replicas, I mean replicas of the ghost trap that are taken from molds of the original, so it just looks highly detailed, but they're anywhere from like 150 to 500 pounds, so if you're a Ghostbusters fan and you got money to burn, there's an idea for a Christmas gift. But I don't know what direction it'll take. Dancers on a slightly related, but what if they made a Tokusatsu Ghostbusters series? Don't get kaiju started.
Oh, I'd like that.
Funnily enough, he was doing a panel on kaiju at Kazacon yesterday.
Here's the thing. If they do another game set, say, 2 to 3 years after the events of Ghostbusters the video game, they're going to have to find either a way of having Egon involved and have like a very decent sound-alike, or if AI has progressed enough to where an AI can mimic his voice. I don't know. But if you're going to have Egon involved, you're going to have to find some creative ways of getting around that.
Or, just as a suggestion, maybe go with the animated voice in Maurice LaMarche.
Yeah. Because those are the 2 most recognized portrayals of Egon. Obviously, Harold Ramis being the OG, but Maurice comes a very close second, because even though, it's a different bass and a slightly different cadence, but when you hear Maurice as Egon, you may as well be hearing an animated version of Harold, because even though it's a different voice, it's the same voice. If you get my meaning. Like when you hear Lorenzo music as Peter Venkman, it's got Bill Murray's dry wit to it, and the same thing with Arsenio Hall as Winston, which I actually preferred that voice actor for Winston as opposed to his replacement in Slimer in the real Ghostbusters. Whereas Frank Welker as Ray, nah, it works. So, probably know the answer to this. Are all three of you up for another Ghostbusters game?
Yes. Give it to my veins.
Not really a big Ghostbusters game guy, but hey, I'm glad fans are happy about it.
Litz?
Again, I would definitely like to see another Ghostbusters game that's faithful to the source material. We don't talk about that other movie. We don't ever refer to it ever again.
No.
But other than that, I would like to see another version of that. It would be fun. And having Ernie Hudson back, I can definitely see him be like the Nick Fury of the Ghostbusters team. Where he's just like, shit, I'm paying for this shit.
But Liz, there only are 3 Ghostbusters movies.
Yes, there are. But yeah, I could definitely see that happening. I would love to play another game, see that's faithful to it, and get Oni to play it. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Because he played the other Ghostbusters game, so okay.
Yay! I get to be Peter Venkman again. No, you don't. No.
None of that.
What if I get to be Egon? No.
Still no. You can be Ray. Oh, speaking of which.
Dan Aykroyd believes Ghostbusters 4, 5, and 6 should feature the original team. While there has been no official Afterlife sequel greenlit, Aykroyd has ideas how the sequels could feature the original cast. If there is one person who has always been behind the Ghostbusters franchise, it is star and writer Dan Aykroyd, and after Ghostbusters Afterlife blew away expectations at the box office, it did, when it arrived in November, there were obviously going to be questions over whether we will see the original team back in the future. While Aykroyd, Murray, and Hudson are now advancing on in years, they are, to be fair, although Hudson looks great. They prove exactly. They can all still put on a show with their late arrival in the Legacy sequel, and it seems that no one should write off the possibility of another outing or 3 for the team just yet, as Aykroyd says he has an idea for Ghostbusters 4, 5, and 6. While the first 2 movies created one of the most iconic franchises of the 1980s, a third movie planned for the early 90s became stuck in developmental hell for so long that Sony finally decided that the only thing they could do was reboot the series with an all-new cast. That decision resulted in the 2016 Ghostbusters movie, and rather than remind ourselves of too much of how it was received, we will just say that 5 years later, Ghostbusters fans got to see the team they actually wanted to see busting goes back on the screens again in Afterlife. I do like how the author of this article just skipped over that. While the new addition to the franchise featured an unexpected appearance by Harold Ramis' Egon Spengler in ghost form, which, considering the actor passed away a few years ago, was both a tribute to the actor and a very well done plot device. It seems that Aykroyd's ideas partly revolve around the deaths of his own character, or possibly more, but then again he also suggests that it may be better to use the 3 original cast members while they are still alive. I'd like to die. I think Bill and I should be killed in the next one, or maybe we wait. Why not use the living Ghostbusters, Ernie, Billy, and myself for 4, 5, and 6, go until we're gone. Then there will be time for the tributes. Death is going to take us soon enough. Don't be too positive about it, Dan. Ghostbusters Afterlife certainly sets up the possibility of a sequel with a post-credits scene seeing Ernie Hudson's Winston Zeddemore returning to the firehouse with Ecto-1 while he talks about how he will always be a Ghostbuster. In the final seconds, the camera pans down to the containment unit in the basement where a red light is flashing and we cut to black. A sequel has not yet been greenlit, but director Jason Reitman, who took over the reins from his father Ivan, has certainly expressed an interest in continuing with the franchise, teasing that a further Ghostbusters sequel could feature Vigo the Carpathian. and Ernie Hudson has said in interviews that he would be more than happy to return again in a sequel. The fans have been given what they wanted once, so who is to say that it won't happen again? I believe Fry said it best. Shut up and take my money right now!
Yes.
Realistically, if we could get 4 and 5, I'll be happy. A possible trilogy, I think, is probably a stretch. But
Yeah.
we know that there is still something to be made from the Ghostbusters franchise with how well Afterlife did. Sean Rushers says the time loops Bill went through didn't help him. No, it didn't. Because I think out of the remaining 3, Bill looks the worst. You know, whereas in the original movie, to be fair, all 4 of them look quite youthful. Dan more so because he was the youngest. But as time has gone on, I don't know what it is, man. Bill just looks like he's ready for retirement. But yeah.
Yeah. Not to mention, he's not one of the most beloved, but I can tell over the years he's had problems with a lot of people. Like for example, she had a problem with Lucy Liu because of what was it? What was the thing? Didn't know how to. I don't know. Comedy act. I don't know. I think that was the reason that he was in the second. Also, I know for a fact he hated. So like at the point, like to do more movies and all that, he probably got left.
Dan just said, crazy idea. What if they introduced that goth chick from the Extreme Ghostbusters cartoon in the next movie? I'm down for that.
Really?
Yeah. I'd love that.
I would love to see him bring Garrett and Eduardo.
Yep.
I think on occasion, Extreme Ghostbusters for me was a fucking breath of fresh air. I mean, I definitely heard of Ghostbusters. But yeah, I would love to see the characters like they were really about to share.
I mean, heck, if you could build a new Ghostbusters team with Ernie Hudson as the boss and mentor, because as we all know, Winston's a certifiable millionaire at the end of it, so he can afford to pay for the upkeep of the firehouse, the equipment. As long as you bring in Phoebe Spengler, there needs to be at least one member that is a relative of the original team, because you always need that one member who's the super genius. It's not to take anything away from Ray, because Ray's part of what led to the formation of the equipment, but the genius in the story of how the equipment came together, that's all Egon.
I think it's vital that they include that link back to Egon.
Exactly. And it's like I say, Lids, Raiden, when you eventually see Afterlife on Blu-ray, you're not only going to be adore Phoebe, because the girl's such a sweetheart, but when you see McKenna's acting performance, you will look at her and go, that's Egon's granddaughter, because she sells it in spades.
Oh, definitely.
and like I say, as Phoebe, she's just freaking adorable. Even when she's being, an awkward, nerdy, geeky genius, it's just like, oh, you're adorable, girl. But it's done in the way whereby it's like, I'd like to have a daughter like you. Something you could be proud of. Whereas with Trevor, he's not. Here's the thing. This is not against him specifically. He's a good kid. In the movie, he just wanted to chase tail. But then again, he was going after Lucky, and well, she's a looker. Can't say I blame him. And even Raiden is like looking like, hey. But yeah, I could definitely see, like I say, a couple more movies. A trilogy, it depends if they get the script together. And Sony, please, for the love of the good Lord above, don't make us wait 30 years for another one. Some of us don't have the capacity to wait that long.
No.
You imagine, like, it gets to Oni's 90th birthday, coming this week in Cinemax Plus version 55 on Verizon X network. The long-awaited Ghostbusters 5. Kid, Ghostbusters 5, son. And then there's Liz just walks in, in very good shape. Okay, honey, I'll get it set up. Just make sure you don't start raging out before we get your extreme heart pills. That was only because Hulk Hogan III decided to become champion again.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh no.
And there's Blair's like, Hulk Hogan III. Oh good lord, the first one was bad enough. And it's like, yes, I know. The second one was a politician. It's like, that's the worst type of Hulk Hogan.
Although somewhere in the multiverse that is actually a thing.
Well, let me tell you something, brothers. We're gonna go to the White House. We're gonna take everything back. We're gonna make sure we drop the leg drop on the powers of doom out there in the universe. And as my first decree as champion, I'm gonna make sure everybody rips their shirts open and goes wild. And everyone's like, oh good lord. And then Liz is just looking over to her and is like, don't even think about it. No, I wouldn't do that. Besides, I vote for the other guy. Who's the other guy? Vince McMahon II. Ugh.
Ugh.
Oh, Jesus, you the dude.
Well, it could have been worse. We could have voted for Hillary Clinton the 5th. There was a second, third, and fourth. And there's Liz like a. Anyone got any thoughts of a possible new trilogy?
For me, for what it's worth, like, I don't know about the whole, Judas still I die thing. I think for me, like, and this was my original concept that I think I mentioned one time in SKL, train a new generation, maybe train Ghostbusters, just do something different with the franchise. And reviews of other actors like they did that. So I kind of want that same thing, but do things a little different.
Dan Williams has just said #Kane 2024. Oh no!
What have we done?
I forgot he's mayor. Tennessee.
Steve, thoughts on a possible new trilogy?
I think I would agree with you that it should be about. They should plan at least Ghostbusters 4 and 5. Don't go so far as number 6 yet. In terms of the story, I'd say maybe they try maybe something happens and they need to franchise out to other Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
To more than one team.
I like that. I like that a lot. It's funny that you say that because in the second TMNT Ghostbusters crossover, Mikey transfers into a world where turtles are Ghostbusters. That could be good. That's really fun.
But one thing I see, giving Winston as being like the mentor and as well as the guy funding it, I'm getting a lot of Jeff Tracy vibes from him.
Yeah, I'm getting that as well, now that you mention it.
But yeah, I could see Ghostbusters 4 and 5 working. Just hold off on 6 until we know that the first two movies in the trilogy do well.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And what does Madam President say?
I could definitely see that happening. It's just, again, like you said, don't have it take 60 years because I don't think a lot of them will last very long. Or, no, excuse me, another 30 years, sorry. Still, a lot of them won't be around for much longer. It's like, clock's ticking, people, let's go.
Yeah.
Because, I just, again, they're no spring chickens anymore, and we can't wait around for another 30 years for a movie, for a sequel to this franchise. Don't put them out right away. Give it some time to breathe, but don't let it breathe that much.
No.
But I could definitely see another sequel happening with at least featuring the rest of the original Ghostbusters. Because again, I definitely see Winston as the Nick Fury of this team, and I don't know who they're gonna get to be the new Ghostbusters. Hint: don't hire the fake Busters, for the love of God, no.
Please, no.
Again.
If anything, they'll make a little cameo, and after that, they get annihilated.
Get killed off. The end.
Good.
Nobody wins. Everyone go home.
Yay!
I win and I become a new Ghostbuster. No, you do not.
No, get out.
That's the darkest timeline.
No.
That's when I bring in Emperor Palpatine and I become Darth Oni. And then Liz just slaps him. Give me the lightsaber. Yes, dear.
No, none of that.
Oh, dear. Staying with New York, but a different movie franchise now. Spider-Man No Way Home opening weekend box office numbers are in. Sony Pictures and Marvel Studios' Spider-Man No Way Home is having one of the biggest opening events ever since the Spikes in the World event. Spider-Man No Way Home earned $121 million on its first day. The second highest opening day in box office history, behind only Marvel's Avengers The Endgame. The film is estimated to earn $253 million in its opening weekend. That's the third best opening weekend of all time, behind Avengers Endgame, $357 million, and Infinity War, $257 million. No Way Home's success largely comes from the excitement among fans due to the rumors of surprise appearance by past Spider-Man actors. Still, critics have reviewed the film positively. Comicbook.com's Spencer Perry awarded the film 4 out of 5 star score in the review. He writes, No Way Home marks a clear line in the sand for this character, a delineation point of where things might go. Throughout the movie, the implication is that this huge story must be told so that things can go back to being smaller, friendly, neighborhood-sized. But can they? Will Marvel and Sony allow a follow-up to this movie to actually be contained? The economics of modern Hollywood would certainly lead you to believe the answer is no, but Marvel and Sony leave things in an interesting place and clearly have a Peter Parker suited to handle more. If it is the end, though, it has the best final shot of any Marvel Studios Spider-Man movies. John Watts directs Spider-Man No Way Home, closing out his trilogy of MCU Spider-Man movies before focusing on the Fantastic Four. I'm sorry, I just love the way Stan Lee says that. By the way, R.I.P.
Yeah.
We love you. We miss you.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Holland stars as Peter Parker with Zendaya as MJ and Jacob Batalon as Ned. I like Ned. Returning villains include Jamie Foxx as Electro, severely underrated, Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin, Wynn is going to be doing cartwheels, and Alfred Molina as Dr. Octopus, which, by the way, probably one of the best portrayals of a superhero villain ever. Almost done in a kin.
Can I just say I'm really happy they changed up Jamie Foxx's Electro design.
Yes.
Also, the way Alfred Molina's Doc Ock was portrayed, I haven't seen a villain portrayed like that probably since Batman the Animated Series portrayal of Mr. Freeze, because that was well done. And Alfred Molina's Dr. Octopus. Spider-Man No Way Home. With Spider-Man's identity now revealed, our friendly neighborhood web-slinger is unmasked and no longer be able to separate his normal life as Peter Parker from the high stakes of being a superhero. When Peter asks for help from Doctor Strange, the stakes become even more dangerous, forcing him to discover what it truly means to be Spider-Man. What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. The complete list of top 10 movies at the box office follows. Spider-Man No Way Home is playing at theaters. Opening weekend, $253 million. Encanto is at second. Weekend only took in $605 million. Total $81.5 million. And a lot of people don't like this movie from what I hear.
What, Encanto?
Yeah. West Side Story. Ooh. Weekend, 3.42.
Don't talk about it.
And a total of 17.98 million. That's got to be hard for Spielberg, considering this weekend is his 75th birthday.
Ooh.
Ghostbusters Afterlife took in 3.4 million. Total 117.2 million. Right, I need to check something real quick. Dan says, so we shouldn't rehire Kate McKinnon. No, absolutely not.
Please, no.
Let's see.
I didn't have a problem with her. It's just that he's just no.
Ghostbusters has made 173 million. Sorry, Raiden, you trying to say something?
I'm sorry, who's Kate McKinnon again?
Kate McKinnon.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I say, I'm looking at the wiki page. Ghostbusters Afterlife is, well, it's potentially on track to make treble its budget back if it keeps going the way it's going, because it was 75 million to make, it's made 173.6 million.
Yes.
So it's doing all right.
Very
Nightmare
nice.
Alley, I don't know the situation of that. Oh, 1940s New York.
It's produced. Yeah, it's produced by Guillermo del Toro. I think it's produced or directed. I'm not sure.
Dude, I believe.
That man loves to do horror anything. Anything to just bring him off his life.
Willem Dafoe's in it.
Oh, it's got a decent cast.
Nice.
Toni Collette, Defoe, Richard Jenkins, Rooney Mara, Ron Perlman, Mary Steenburgen.
Wait, what?
That's in the 40s. I might give that a look. House of Gucci, that's dropped even further. Only 1.85 million.
Father's Son and House of Gucci.
Pushpa The Rise. I don't know the context of that one. Eternals has dropped even further.
Ooh.
Ouch.
Clifford the Big Red Dog.
I heard that's actually good.
Though that makes me the question: is Peppa the Big Red Dog technically a kaiju?
Yes, it is.
Yes, he is. It's a
And-
kaiju film.
And number 10, Resident Evil, Welcome to Raccoon City.
I ain't touching that damn movie with a pole, bruh. Fuck that.
No.
It only took in...
For me, off topic, I appreciate the effort trying to go back, trying to go back to the origins. I respect that, but yeah, from what I've heard, the way they did Leon in that movie.
It only took in
It's not very good.
It only took in
Yeah,
280.
he does not look like Leon. No, no.
It only took in 280 grand at the weekend with a total of 16.7 million.
Ooh.
Ouch.
That's
pretty bad.
That too, because I do like the actors in there, like Yvonne Jogia, who was in Victorious, Robbie Amell, who was Stephen Amell's cousin, also did a lot of cool stuff, especially like in Legends of Tomorrow as Firestorm.
So, yeah, I could see Spidey playing out in the theaters for a while. I'll say this as a, not necessarily a prediction, but just a feeling. If they do these numbers for the next few weeks, given that it's, this was probably the best time to release it because, kids being off from school and college, and, a lot of bigger kids that go to take their kids because, hey, 20 years ago, some of those adults were teenagers watching, the likes of the first couple of Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, so they're going to be interested in going back to see this. So I'm going to make a like I say, slight feeling this will at least get to $1 billion. At the moment, I think the most profitable Spider-Man movie has been number 3, sadly. Yeah, but it did... Here's the thing, it was a bad movie, but it did good numbers. So...
And you know what? I'll say this, watching a little bit of the Double Toast review. Overrated made a really great Eddie Brock for Venom. Also, what they could have did with that movie is like when Eddie gets about the symbiote. After the film, bam, that's when you have to do a little Spider-Man thing. That's it.
Also, speaking of Double Toasted, their coverage of that 1967 episode, Billy's reaction was brilliant.
Oh, Billy was in that episode?
Yes.
Oh, God, I need to watch that after we're done.
Oh, my God.
The bit that had me dying was the bit when Spidey is in JJ's office, stood opposite what I can only describe as an Aborigine warrior, and he's going, "Come here, little doggy," and I'm like, "The fuck, dude!"
Oh, dude.
And poor Billy, he was losing his freaking mind.
That's awesome.
I mean, like Oni, I don't go saying G damn, because I'm not the most devotee Christian, but there are certain words I won't go saying because, don't want to be taking the Lord's name in vain and all that, and as far as I'll cover that, but I'll deliver this in the exact tone and cadence, and Raiden will get an idea. Gosh dang! And did his usual Billy grimace, where he's like, it's like he saw, it's like he just saw like the worst thing you could possibly ever imagine that just makes your face shrivel up. So yeah, when you get time, give that a look. And even they commented on the fact that, Peter Parker's supposed to be a teenager, yet in this movie he sounds like a 40-year-old who's been smoking for 20 years.
Oh, dude.
Yeah. Oh, God. One more article, and then we'll get to what a lot of you have been waiting for. The Batman director says that Kurt Cobain inspired Bruce Wayne's portrayal by Robert Pattinson.
You know what? That does
Oh,
not surprise me one,
oh dear.
that does not surprise me one damn bit.
Matt Reeves.
It really doesn't.
Matt Reeves says
Right.
Bruce Wayne's grungy look in the Batman comes from the influence of Kurt Cobain and Nirvana. We're getting a version of Bruce Wayne unlike the others when Robert Pattinson takes on the role in The Batman, the upcoming standalone superhero movie from director Matt Reeves, which, by the way, from what I understand, this is actually going to be a trilogy.
Cool.
Recently speaking with Empire, Reeves addressed the casting of Pattinson as Bruce, touching on the new look that comes with his incarnation. He looks a lot less like the sophisticated playboy Bruce is typically portrayed as in the Batman movies, and Reeves says that this grungy appearance comes from the influence of Kurt Cobain. When I write, I listen to music, and as I was writing the first act, I put on Nirvana's Something in the Way. That's when it came to me. Rather than make Bruce Wayne the playboy version we've seen before, there's another version who had gone through a great tragedy and became a recluse. So I started making this connection to Gus Vance's Last Days and the idea of this fictionalized version of Kurt Cobain being in this kind of decaying manner. Last Days is a movie that's not quite a biopic, but is heavily influenced by Cobain and the late rocker's life story. Reeves also says how Pattinson caught his attention with his performance in the Safdie brothers movie Good Time, and how he could see that playing into the version of Bruce Wayne he had in mind for Batman. In that movie, you could really feel his vulnerability and desperation, but you could also feel his power. I thought that was a great mix, but he's also got that Kurt Cobain thing where he looks like a rock star, but you also feel like he could be a recluse. Pattinson also spoke about his take on the character with Empire. The actor noted that Bruce has been hiding away in this world, far from the charming socialite he has been in other Batman stories. He explains, Bruce has been building with all these little contraptions and things just with Alfred, and even Alfred thinks he's gone insane. This Bruce Wayne seems to be more of a loner, but the sneak peeks have teased a personal relationship with Selena Kyle, Zoe Kravitz, how you doing? Other reimagined characters that will be featured in the Batman, including Paul Dano as the Riddler. I'm going to have nightmares about this version of the Riddler. John Turturro as Carmine Falcone, that'll be interesting. Colin Farrell as the Penguin, and Jeffrey Wright as James Gordon. Andy Serkis also stars as Bruce's butler, Alfred Pennyworth. I'm going to be interested to see how that turns out, because Serkis is a damn good actor.
Oh, yeah.
In The Batman, Bruce Wayne is just 2 years into his new career as the savior of Gotham, a vigilante who brings criminals to justice in the city. Some had questioned his casting at first, but the sneak peek images and teasers have convinced most to give Pattinson a shot in the role. He'll be one of 3 Batmen to be seen on the big screen in 2022, as Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck will play Bruce Wayne variants in The Flash, and according to Ben Affleck, we might just see George Clooney's Batman show up in The Flash.
Wait, what?
Totally.
Yep. Hi there, Flash.
I want him to hold up a sign that says, "I'm sorry."
The Batman will be released in movie theaters on March 4, 2022. If not for the pandemic, we would have gotten it this past summer, but let's just hope it's been worth the wait, as the promising sneak peek suggest. It's nice to see a different take with Bruce Wayne, because, as I said, we've had the Playboy thing with, more so with Val Kilmer, as just mentioned, George Clooney and Ben Affleck and Christian Bale, but I feel like this is almost like an extreme hardcore version of Michael Keaton's version of Bruce, because even as a socialite, Keaton's version was very withdrawn. He didn't really feel comfortable being Bruce Wayne. So I'm going to be interested to see how this turns out. Steven?
Yeah, I'm gonna more or less a wait and see with this one. I am intrigued to see how this version of Bruce Wayne actually works on screen. That's all.
Sean Retro has just said, I take it the new Resident Evil movie isn't good. The fact that Raiden pretty much roasted it. It's just like, yeah, you got your answer. Speaking of Raiden,
Oh hell no!
your thoughts on the article?
For me, this might be the first time I'm really interested in a Batman movie. Like, I'm just watching photos, finally watching the trailer, I'm like, okay, you hooked me in. This is a Batman that I've wanted to see for a long time. You know, of course, you see good portrayals of Batman and all that, but you finally see a visceral Batman, and just, you know, him just trying to figure out life, you know, and he does it by just beating the shit out of people like very violently. So I like, so the fact that it's gonna be a trilogy. Okay, this might be part one. This might be something like, this is like, and you know what? Him being modeled after Kurt Cobain, that makes a lot of sense, because before that, Kurt was gonna be like very, very responsive, like the media. He wanted to do what he wanted to do. He didn't care about like things as long as he his message comes to the world. That I feel like with this portrayal of Batman, definitely see it. And I'm happy to see the supporting cast will try to steer him in the right way, especially when crafting Catwoman. So I think the whole thing, I like how they're not giving a lot of things away. So we're just seeing a little bit of mix of action, a little bit of quiet moments. You know, I definitely see the withdrawal. I can see the anger, everything that Nirvana stood for. So I am definitely looking forward to this. I personally cannot look for this. Like, for me, this is the year of going super dark without like saying the dark. You know what I mean? You have colorful backgrounds and go crazy. Like, and go back to this. There you go. I can't wait for this.
Steven?
I think you already said, you asked
Beg
me.
your pardon, sir. Madam President, your thoughts?
I'm actually intrigued by this because, again, watching a lot of the trailers, the sneak peeks that they're giving, I'm really intrigued to see where they're going with this. Because at first, I'm like, when I first heard when they said Robert Pattinson is gonna play Batman, I'm like, am I being pranked? Is this a joke? Because again, I'm still a little burned by the Twilight franchise, but
We all are.
again, when he even said that he hated making those movies, I'm like, okay, fine, I kind of have some respect for you there. And to be honest, out of all of them, he's come out a lot better than a certain mannequin, and I'm not going to discuss Taylor Lautner. He's made his own decisions. But again, I'm glad that we're getting something interesting, a little different take on the character, because that's what I always like about like taking on a different franchise and telling a different story with it. And I would love to see where they take this version of that, because again, as I'm a big fan of Nirvana and taking the elements of this recluse individual, I know that they're technically taking it from a person that a fictionalized version of Kurt Cobain, but again, Kurt Cobain himself, the man was a troubled man, and and you could definitely see a lot of like pain behind his eyes. That's like, I kind of get that from this version of Bruce Wayne, where it's like, yeah, my parents died and I chose to do this instead. Like, you don't think that trauma just doesn't go away? That's still there.
It grows.
Like it grows, it gets It can eat a person away. The fact that he's more brutal, like watching him just beat the crap out of that goon, I'm like, okay, yeah, you're a different Batman. But
Not gonna
again,
lie, it reminds me of Arkham Origins Batman.
yes, he does. But again, I love that. I know a lot of people don't like that game, but it's like I didn't have a problem with it. Just again, a lot of story inconsistencies, but that's neither here nor there. But
Okay.
I'm definitely intrigued to see where they go with this. I'm actually kind of want to see this movie now.
You go mentioning the stuff with Twilight. I'm reminded of a video that my brother did of Wazul and friends watching Twilight. It's only a minute and 30 seconds.
I think I know where this is going.
It's gonna have you dying. Hang on. Let me just put it through. I'm at 0.
I am as well.
Me too.
Just waiting on Lids.
My mom needs my help. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay.
We can wait a minute. Stretch. And as I noticed on Austin's Instagram the other day, he has a Rufus. Yeah, he literally has a black and white British short hair cat that is a spitting image of mine. Even, did like a similar meow. I'm like, oh. I mean, not to get, too heavily into religion or reincarnation, but, if, my boys found his way over to Stone Cold, it's like, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
Now, Rufus wasn't the cuddliest of cats, but he gave the love where it was needed. And here's the thing with animals: they know when we're having bad times, and that their instinct is, I don't know what's wrong, but I'm here to comfort you. And there'd be times where where my mum would be just having some hard days, and he'd just come in and just jump up on her lap and just start purring away. And
I'm back.
okie dokie. Let's see.
All right, I'm at 0.
Go back to full screen. 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Wazul. Play.
Classic days of YouTube.
Yep.
Wait, what?
What is going on?
I think you should really stay away from me. I'm dangerous.
I love you, Edward. You're stalking, you're staring, you're sparkling. What?
Oh god.
Fuck!
Oh no!
I like piccalilli. Pickle cabbage is alright with a bit of cold meat on Sunday night. I can go to Martyrs, but what I do prefer is a little bit of cucumber, little bit of cucumber.
Don't ask.
What the hell was that?
This was random back in the day. Nobody could understand what his.
No. I mean, he was the one that made Babality a meme.
Babality.
Oh god. The people that watch is like, what the fuck was that?
Even coming up with something like
Locomotivality.
in one of his HDGs.
Oh god. All right. That was just something I, like I said, I just had to get out there. Right. Videos, don't play till I tell you to. Thank you. Right. I will state for posterity, I would like to have made the thumbnail better, but you can tell by the context of what I was trying to go for.
I dig it.
Alex doesn't look too bad. Good.
Alright. I'm at 0.
I'm as well.
Steven?
Hang on. Yep.
Okay, folks, this is the season. This is the season finale, and this is what you voted for. In 3, 2, 1, play. What are you doing?
I'm a Power Ranger.
Yeah, sure, why not?
And we're comparing their movies.
What?
Power Rangers has been a phenomenon since 1993 with the Day of the Dumpster episode
what?
that first
Oh,
introduced the
Retro,
Mighty
never
Morphin Power
changed.
Rangers of Jason, Trini, Kimberly, Zack, and Billy. There have been many incarnations from Mighty Morphin
Jason
to
was
Zeo
best Power
in
Ranger.
Space, Dino Thunder to SPD, and even Turbo.
We don't talk about Turbo.
After the aforementioned movie sequel in 1997, there would not be
no
another
sir,
Power
we do
Rangers
not.
movie until 2017 that rebooted the movie franchise that saw the basic concept reimagined in a more grounded setting.
And I suppose we're comparing the original 1995 movie to 2017?
More phenomenal! You got it!
Please don't do that again.
Well, folks, let's see how they compare as we go back to action.
Oh no.
Ladies and gentlemen,
He's gonna do it.
it's morphin' time!
Ugh. Good Lord help me. The 1995 movie is basically the same formula as the TV series, but on a much grander scale from writing, special and visual effects, and duration. You know, that's fair. This movie is basically what Saban would have done with the series if he had the time, money, and resources to be able to do this much bigger.
The reboot has the basic DNA of the show, but it's done in a way if Chris Nolan had gotten his hands on Power Rangers and did a realistic take.
Would they ask where the other drugs were going?
Yeah.
No.
But that said, the characters do feel more fleshed out and complex as opposed to the two perfect teens with attitude from the original. But I felt like the characters had too much attitude, particularly with the likes of Zack, Trini, and Kimberly. Zack for being reckless, Trini for being the silent, moody type, and Kimberly for spreading a private image of a friend. While this version of Jason is a little more reckless with the rival school football mascot, there is still that level of character integrity in how he wouldn't rat out his friends and how he stands up for Billy when he's being bullied in detention. Billy is much more of a loner compared to the David Yost portrayal, and you see his mannerisms as someone who is on the spectrum and not understanding certain forms of humor nor sarcasm. But in that instant, Billy 2017 is on the same level of intelligence as Billy 1995 with the way he's able to get Jason's ankle tag off by hacking it with his computer skills. Kimberly 95, despite being a Valley Girl type, also has a heart of gold.
Yeah.
Her friends are her family, and let's be real, she was probably most guys' first crush back in the day.
Guilty.
Kimberly 2017
Yes.
is dealing with the shame of spreading a private
Guilty.
image of a former friend of hers and feeling remorseful for what she did. So her arc is about redemption and moving forward, as Jason highlights.
Start over, erase that picture right now.
Jason, it can't be erased.
Then live with it. You did an awful thing. It doesn't make you an awful person. Just be the person you want to be.
And then we have the little gray area of comparing the yellow, black, and red Rangers. Why gray? Because of the fact that the 95 movie featured the original Rangers replacements, whereas the 2017 movie is using the original Rangers. Touché.
To compare 2017 Trini with Aisha is difficult because it's night and day. Aisha is very bubbly and energetic, whereas Trini is very withdrawn and moody. Rocky versus Jason is another apples to oranges. Jason has this very stoic quality about him where you see him grow into this stand-up leader figure, whereas Rocky is kind of a background character as most
To be
of the
fair, he
dialogue
was.
goes to Tommy,
He kinda
Karen,
Really
and
was.
Tommy's the odd one out because his modern counterpart is only mentioned by name in the end credits, and all you see is a green Letterman jacket. Although that said, it would have been interesting to see who would have played him.
Now here's an area where the original
Or
movie
her,
does
could have
better
been a
than its
girl.
modern counterpart. As mentioned earlier, the 95 movie uses the TV series formula, but simply
Grappling
expands
hook.
it with regards to scale, tone, and action.
I can't lie, I
But
really love it.
it
I
does
really
come
love
with its
the
own
95
issues.
movie.
Yep. The
Very
movie has a real
Arthur-like.
problem with pacing once they lose their powers. It goes from being a Power Ranger scenario with the fight with the Oozemen to traveling to Phaedos to where we get an expanded amount of time with walking, exposition, the Fred Kelman arc that really did nothing to advance the story, as
How
it
you
slowed the
doing?
pacing down
Indeed.
also whenever the story would break away from the Rangers.
Yeah.
That said, the modern
And
version
what's
has
weird
its
is
own
that was
pacing
supposed to be
issues.
Mariska
It's
Hargitay.
not until the third act that you're reminded that it's a Power Rangers movie when they morph and call upon the dinosaurs. And the fact that it took them this long just to morph for the first time, whereas in the original movie they could just morph via their morphers and not have to morph via a philosophical state of mind.
And that's another problem. At least the original movie knows it's a Power Rangers movie.
Yeah. The reboot
true.
feels like it's a mixture of The Breakfast Club with the detention scenes and how they're a bunch of misfits that don't belong with each other. There are elements of Man of
think with
Steel with the
2017
Midwest
movie, it
Kansas
tried-
look of Angel
it tried
Grove.
too damn hard to be
Horror
serious.
elements when you see Rita looking demonic with the visions that Zordon shows them, and with the suits looking like, I can't believe it's not Iron Man.
And let's not forget the quirky Spider-Man and Wolverine moments.
Look, I understand that if you suddenly get endowed with superpowers like that, you would feel a little bit out of place. But the fact it was basically lifting those moments from X-Men Origins Wolverine and Amazing Spider-Man wholesale, it just looks
Billy's like,
unoriginal.
yeah,
I didn't mean to do that.
And It's like, yeah, I'm a player. Over gratuitous
I'm like, just gonna walk away.
cream.
Yeah.
Me, I like donuts as much as the next person, but really, that's just overkill. Ugh, I love Krispy Kremes as much as the next guy, but even I got sick of how gratuitous that got. And what of the villains?
You know, with Ivor News, he's basically a live-action
Ivor
cartoon
News
character with
was-
his over-the-top
Yeah,
moments
that
that
movie
Mark
was
Hamill would have been
very
proud of. Whereas Rita
Not
in the
only
modern
he was
version bore no
destructive,
resemblance to a
but
TV
he was
counterpart that was voiced
hilarious.
by Barbara Goodson.
Some have even gone to the length of saying that the 2017 Rita Repulsa looks like an S&M character. Never ever say that again about Rita. Which I won't get out of my head anytime soon.
Oh my.
It's probably the darkest version of Rita ever seen from the franchise, and it's interesting that she was originally the Green Ranger, along with Zordon being the first Red Ranger. Whereas in the original movie, he's the mentor and the wizard that's contained within his energy cube. And of course, the modern movie reuses the element of Ooze joining
Oh,
with his machine.
God.
I didn't see the point of Rita fusing with Goldar, because to me, Goldar has to be a hammy, bumbling henchman. But in this, he's basically a cheap golden recolor of the movie's Megazord.
Oh, So they took the DeviantArt approach. Yes, that's actually a fair description.
The Zord battles with Goldar and the Putties have probably the same amount of time as the original movie before they combine to their respective Megazords.
I don't understand why they have their helmets off.
I know.
Well, that did not make sense.
Honestly, I would have to say that the original barely wins this round. It has its own issues with
Lucky
regards
Adam.
to pacing and exposition.
Man,
knows it's a Power Rangers
It's like,
movie.
well, about me,
Whereas
like,
the modern counterpart has a lack of identity and borrows elements from other movies that stands out like a sore thumb, along with its own problems with pacing.
I always want
gotta remember.
and I've always wanted to review myself.
This round will see a lot of contrast. So, light and campy versus deep and grounded? Pretty much.
As much as I love the original movie's cast, they weren't going to win Oscars anytime soon. The acting was what it was. It's a little winning in places, but by this point we had known the cast since season 2 when Rocky, Adam, and Aisha took over from Jason, Zach, and Trini.
Would it be fair to say that Ivan Ooze was more entertaining than the Rangers? Totally fair.
I mean,
Even though he's the
Oh,
main
absolutely.
lead, takes out the later, there's a lot of charm to Paul Freeman's
like I
heavy
said,
acting.
that's why the movie.
But to be fair, when you have a movie that has that sense of campy fun, you need a villain that's OTT. So, where does that put modern Rita?
Oh boy.
To me, this portrayal of Rita Repulsa played by Elizabeth Banks, who some of you may remember...
Rita, are you trying to intimidate her or come on to her?
Probably shifts the scenery up more so
I don't like where this is going.
Is that even possible?
I need
I
an
don't think so
adult.
either,
I need
but-
an adult.
Here we are.
I mean, Becky G was
Elizabeth
still
just
was
loses
an
herself
adult
in
this
the role
one,
as the
but
Power
I
Rangers
don't know.
antagonist, to where it's a much more raw and demonic version of the character that is apparent in not just the performance but also the appearance. Gone is the classic witch outfit from the TV series, and instead is what I can only describe as a tight-fitting green revealing catsuit. And I say green because she starts the movie out as the original Green Ranger.
What? You heard me right.
It's a similar approach with Bryan Cranston as Zordon, as he starts out as the original Red Ranger.
Wait, what is this? Mighty Morphin Retcon Rangers? At this point, it may as well be.
Bryan had a role on the original series as a voice of one of the...
I did like him as
so for him
Zordon.
to come back and be Zordon was good. Given the caliber of acting he's done, from being a comedy TV dad in Malcolm in the
Bill
Middle to
Hader as
shocking everyone as
Apple was
Heisenberg
actually
in Breaking Bad,
funny.
he brings a lot of depth to Zordon as a reluctant mentor that wants to have a body again and loses patience when the Rangers can't morph so quickly. At least we can say that this version of Zordon seemed to be a little more involved. There is that. But you have to remember that he serves as a motivational and sympathetic
to be fair,
character as
at
to
least
why
he's
the
not
Rangers travel
Gosei.
to Phaedos.
So what about the Rangers themselves?
It's like we said at the start. The original movie was never going to win any awards, but the fans of the series weren't that interested. They had already known these characters for 3 years, and they had their faves. Mostly with Tommy and Kimberly, played by JDF and Amy Jo Johnson, respectively.
Of which they made cameos at the end. That was very rewarding. And is it just me, or does Amy Jo Johnson not age? Who knows? She might be a Time Lord. I knew it.
The modern definitely have a much more grounded and believable acting performance, and you do get to care about the characters. More so with Billy, Jason, and Kimberly, whom the movie seems to focus on the most. Zack and Trini have less focus, but you do get to see their troubles, with Trini dealing with girlfriend troubles and Zack being reckless as a facade to cover for caring for his sick mother. Ludi Lin and Becky G do well with the material they're given.
Oh yeah, that's right. He was also Liu Kang in the Mortal Kombat remake. I just realized that.
And you see their evolution through the movie as Jason, Kimberly, and Billy, respectively. Dacker for showing the stand-up leader that he becomes as Jason, Naomi for overcoming her
And she was in that really shitty Charlie.
and Billy for bringing the Rangers together after his death and revival. And considering that Dacker and Naomi are Australian and British respectively, you wouldn't know this with the convincing American accents they put on.
True. True.
Well, again,
So,
Decker has
we give it
has
to
practice
for
because he was
acting.
Billy in Stranger Things.
Objectively, 2017. Yeah, that's fair. I got love for the original movie cast, especially Amy Jo, but 2017 just did a better job.
Oh God.
This is going to be painful,
This
isn't
will
it?
hurt.
Even though
Will
more
hurt
money
like
was
hell.
spent on the 2017 movie, $105 million is considered cheap in today's market. I will grant that the visual effects are an improvement on the Zords compared to the $15 million that
Yeah.
was spent on the original movie.
So ugly,
But
more
even
of
then,
Oh.
if you compare it to the visual effects
Oh,
that were
this
used in
time,
the
no.
2020 Sonic the Hedgehog, where the
No.
cost of
Not
that was
this, no.
$85 million to $90 million, and they look more convincing,
Hi.
then there's a problem. Also, as mentioned earlier, Goldar looked nasty. Nothing more than a recolor of
He
the
looked
movie's
why?
Megazord.
Just
And
why?
Hell.
speaking of the 95 movie,
As I stated in the 25th anniversary review, it was a product of its time, but considering that Jurassic Park had better CG for the dinosaurs and that was 2 years prior to this
I knew
movie,
they look.
there was no excuse.
I do believe your buddy Raiden had something to say about that.
Oh, good
That's the
lord,
episode
that's
format.
CGI.
3 times the runtime.
That's
I do like the
it.
message of
Still ugly.
And Kaiju Noir had words of equal measure.
Also, that's a terrible
I guess it's
neck
true what they
design.
say. What about the suits?
Not gonna lie, I'm gonna say the original suits hands down.
Really?
Okay, let's be real.
Yeah.
The modern suits just had Iron Man and
Yeah, I'll agree with
Guyver
that.
written all over them.
That's
At
that's
least the
what
original
two
movie,
aliens.
you could tell
Kind
that
of,
they were
yeah.
Ranger suits from the series. They just had a budget spent on them to where they looked like body armor,
Also,
but
yeah,
still the
like I
design
said,
and
the
color schemes of
armor
their
plated
suits
suits
and
will
helmets.
definitely much better.
So this means a tie. Really?
Yeah.
Both had bad CGI, but the original had the better suits.
Yeah.
Like the cast and effects, the scores are very contrasting.
The 2017 movie just feels like it has scores we've heard before from Iron Man 3 and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows. Well, that's probably because Brian Tyler scored those as well. He's a good composer, but he doesn't give the movie any identity. Aside from the use of one piece that was used from the original movie.
Pardon me.
Wait, what?
Yep. It's like we had to be reminded
Oh,
that this was a
my bad.
Power Rangers movie. Yep.
Say what we will about the time of the original movie, but at least you knew from the tone, writing, casting, and the score, you knew it was a Power Rangers movie. Graham Revell took what had been done by Ron Wasserman on the original series and just made it bigger and more energetic, from the fight scenes to majestic scenes and, of course, the theme song
That
itself.
theme song is so.
So, 95 wins? Without even trying. Oof, that's bad.
Mhm.
As we've pretty much summed up before now, both movies have their issues from pacing and visual effects, but the 1995 movie at least is consistent in recognizing that it is a Power Rangers movie, whereas the modern variant just seems to borrow trends from comic book movies in the last 20 years and just has no real identity.
Especially with elements of the Breakfast Club clearly being borrowed.
It's one thing if a movie is inspired by others, but just to take
My man,
tropes from
John
an
Bender.
iconic 80s movie like that is lazy.
Hey,
there
Molly.
were plans to bring Tommy Oliver in as the Green Ranger for a sequel, but due to the
Molly
underwhelming
Ringwald.
performance at the box office,
back
it
in
was
the day. How you
decided to
doing?
reboot the series
Still is, but
again.
damn.
Let's hear it. Your 2 cents on Power Rangers.
Oh boy, where to start? Well, first things first, I applaud Saban for at least attempting to put together a Power Rangers movie that tried to take itself seriously. Now, when I say seriously, I don't mean the filmmakers taking the movie in a dark direction, but rather I mean that the filmmakers were able to take their job seriously in crafting a movie with a goofy concept while making the audience feel invested in its characters, like any other good superhero movie. For too long, people tend to see the entirety of Power Rangers as just the campy, goofy, and badly aged Mighty Morphin era, when in reality there have been plenty of genuinely good seasons of Power Rangers that most people overlook simply because it's not the first team. Now, when it comes to the movie, in execution, however, the film had a lot of problems, As much as I liked the actors chosen for the films, especially when it came to the 5 Rangers themselves, each of their personal stories stylistically clashed with the third act of the movie due to the decision of shoving all the major action sequences towards the last 30-20 minutes of the film. I feel like it would have been less jarring had the superhero elements of Power Rangers been more spread out, especially in the second act where we could have gotten a Rita or Putty fight scene as opposed to having cheap, unmorphed training sessions. Though, this was probably due to the relatively low budget of the film, especially for an action movie, and the fact that Lionsgate isn't all that well known for making giant summer blockbuster action fests. Another issue I had was with Elizabeth Banks as Rita, as her hammy lines and scene-chewing performance was another stylistic clash that made her seem like she popped out of a completely different film. This is especially noticeable when you can notice how down-to-earth Bryan Cranston's Zordon feels in comparison. Finally, I absolutely hated the artistic direction of the film. Everything from the suits to the Zords to Alpha 5, and especially the bland-looking Megazord, all look downright ugly to me. For a movie based on a property which was also based on a highly imaginative Japanese franchise that had so many wonderful and imaginative designs, I was very disappointed, especially as a giant robot fan myself. The Power Rangers film the Power Rangers film could have been something unique and special, like it had been for the last 25 years on television, but sadly the film is bogged down by creative decisions from people who probably wanted to capture elements from other popular movie franchises rather than what made the teenagers with attitudes so iconic in the first place.
The 95 movie, at the very least, had a sequel. We don't talk about that movie. But we do not talk about Turbo. The 95 movie isn't perfect by any means, but it's a guilty pleasure for some that just enjoy it for what it is. It knows it's a Power Rangers movie, and that, in of itself, is satisfying enough. I guess I'll teleport back to the past. We've been MJ Knight, and we compared Power Rangers. And let's not also... like some fava beans, and I bottle of Chianti.
Oh my god, no.
There's Liz looking at... There's Liz looking at... You're enjoying that way too much. Yes, I am, Liz. Yes, I'm turning into Onirakaku. And Onirakaku. And now, next week, I'm going to review Star Park the movie. Raiden's like... This is going good. Raiden, you don't have a bottle of Chianti. I don't care.
Oh no!
That's probably like, okay, dude, I'm not that dark. Shit. Well, shut up!
Oh no.
There you go.
That was awesome.
Sean says, well, it's not like you can say much about Twilight. One good thing you could say about Turbo is that the Megazord looks a lot better than the one in the first movie. Oh, yeah.
I mean, let's be fair. Because they actually used a guy in a suit.
That helps.
Yep.
That and I think the actual car props they used in the movie of Turbo look better than what they had from Car Ranger, but they're dealing with stock footage from said show, so you get what you get. But no, like I said, when I was doing that, I think that was like the only real major blooper. And imagine like Raiden sort of saying, "Well, I'm not that dark." Shin pops up. Well, I got something to say. You shut up.
I appreciated that.
Yeah. Originally, I would have had Win, going giddy hearing the original thing, but I thought, hang on, there's a Mark Hamill references there. It's like, yeah, use something with that, and saying that Amy Jo's a Time Lord. Steve's like, why do I want this? Because I honestly, that woman does not age.
Like I say, fountain of youth.
Yep. Amy, sharing is caring. Come on now. But yeah, I actually did both Chroma King done. One was in the late morning, and the other one was in the afternoon. Because what happened? I think I'd only been out of the shower for maybe like 30 minutes before filming the retro stuff, and then about an hour and a half later went out to get my hair cut and what have you, because the thing I like to do with the retro and modern segments is not just have a difference in the pitch and cadence and the dress sense, but the fact that the two of us have completely different hairstyles, which was, why I went to make such a, no pun intended, bold choice to actually have my head shaved when I went to do Star Trek Generations, because, well, retro would represent Kirk and modern would represent Picard. That's what I tried to go for. It's like, if I know I've got a haircut coming up, I think, should I do another old versus new here? Because that way it stands out. And retro's more insufferable. As I like to think of retros that energetic younger brother who's just high on sugar and Pro Plus pills, whereas modern's like the elder, more sober brother thinking, oh god, what bullshit do I have to clean up now? But, that's always been kind of the staple, but it's just evolved a little bit over the last 7 years, and I only ever bring that character back if I feel like there's a project coming up where I'll look and think, this feels like something that I could bring him into. And, people say, why'd you act like a jackass in this? It's like, that's kind of the whole point. He's meant to be an exaggerated, younger version of me, because I was kind of like that, but it's just been, dialed up to 11. Whereas, modern version, yeah, I can still be a jackass when I want to be, but I know when and not to do it. But, no, like I've done before, I've used copyright footage sparingly, because YouTube's, they're still very eagle-eyed when it comes to these sort of things, so, you have to just watch out for it. as ever, Steve, thoughts on the original and the new movie, and thoughts on the review.
Never really saw the original when it first came out. I think I remember seeing it when I was in my early teens, but it was like, whoa, this actually existed? It was news to me. And then saw 2017, didn't really think much of it. As a review, very good analysis on both films, and nice use of the audio clips there.
Yeah. Lids?
Again, I have a small place, special place in my heart for the original one, even though, again, it can't be, it's cheesy, it's just, the effects aren't that good. The effects are fine, but for their time, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's like, again, like I said, it has a special place in my heart. The 2017 one, it's a mixed bag. It's like, it's fine, but it's like, but it's like, it's fine for what it was, and it's like, I don't have problems with it, but I didn't really like it. Not really. Like, there are elements that I like in it, it's just that it felt like a coggled mess. Like, what Kaiju said in the review was right. It, like, the end, it was just like breakneck speed. Here are all the action scenes. I'm like, why? It's like, you could have spaced this out real quick. You don't have to throw everything at the wall, see what sticks. And just, it wasn't my cup of tea, so it's... if I watch it again, or if I watch it with a more clinical eye, I'll be able to appreciate it a little bit better, I guess. But as regards to the review, you did a good job. You did a lot of, you brought a lot of good points, and again, you did a good job.
There you go. Raiden, I know you already have your thoughts for this, so go right ahead.
I mean, here's my thing. And if I go back and listen, I know the flaws of that shit. I think that's pretty actually right. I'm not making ugly shit this thing. But I think for me, I can turn my brain off a little bit, part of it, to watch the movie to enjoy my, you know. 2017, yeah, like I just said, there was some good things and there was a lot of bad things, but like with the first half, it just got marked with a lot of BS. So, like, I don't know, I think I'm all the time we down half the time. Even though, once again, he used the theme of 95 from Mission to the Door. Yo, that shit is like easily. Only because I never thought to go out and see it. Yeah. But it's the easy thing to do, but you're yourself very, very entertained. Like I use a lot of bias and past like reviews of the 95 and 2017 movies, so that was good. But the bands between you, retro was hilarious. That was a lot of fun, so I just did it. I definitely want to watch that again. Go off.
Thanks. Whenever, I do projects where he's going to come in, it's just like, okay, how's he going to be introduced this time? And the only reason I didn't have him teleport out is because I tried it whilst doing the transitions, and what would have happened is, because I can't really move the sofa to anywhere specific in the apartment, it would have seen the sofa teleport out of there as well, and it just would have looked cringy. So it's just like, it's something to work on for the future. Maybe for future reference, I just do a thing whereby I just step out of the shot, let it do its thing, and it's like, okay, we'll go for it from there. But it's like whenever I've tried to bring him in for, like, with Batman versus Batman, I have him come in wearing a cowl doing the Christian Bale thing. I'm like, oh, good lord, dude, what are you up to now? Because I always try to meet him with this sort of, what am I going to endure? But yeah, kind of glad that one went over well. I'd be interested to see what the reaction will be when people eventually see Superman versus Man of Steel. Because, I don't know, for some reason, it just didn't feel necessarily right to do as a season finale. But when I gave the option to people, do you want to see that, or do you want to see old versus new with Power Rangers? And the audience spoke, which is something we'll get to grips with as and when we take the show over to Twitch for the 10th season, because as Liz has said, Oni's found himself a niche over there.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, folks, thanks for tuning into the season finale. I think one of my New Year's resolutions I'm going to have to try and adhere to a lot next year is try to stay on topic more often, because found myself drifting off in places which sometimes it goes off into amusing areas, like with Oni's thoughts on vegans and Toyota Priuses. I'm likely going to get a message later saying, MJ, we need to have a talk. It's like, okay, do you want to know how the birds and the bees work? No! I already know how that works! Liz like, do you really?
Like, you want to talk to my wife?
Sean just says, remember, if you're not a Zoidberg, beware of Robot Santa Claus this Christmas. Also, Happy Frieza Day.
God.
Happy Frieza Day!
Frieza.
Don't you mean Lord Stephanie McMahon Day?
No!
Well, you refer to her as Lord Frieza.
Maybe
Do that,
Jesus
yes, I
Christmas.
remember.
But, we're glad we're able to entertain despite the problems Season 9 has had with this season. Mainly, with a different, start time, but it is what it is, folks, because that's the hand I was dealt. So it's just a simple case of what hand do you play against it? And it's like, okay, let's do it like this. But, yep, that's production on Season 16. And I think The Rock will be okay with me borrowing this. Finally done! That season's closed. And we can move on to Season 17 at last.
Mm-hmm.
And we start Season 17 next month with The Man. And Raider's going to be like, it's going to be good.
What happened with that shit?
I love if he comes on camera and goes, don't know what you people are talking about, this is fucking funny.
Yeah.
Whereas...
Just have all of us just like off camera, just like, nope,
That's it, I'm out of here.
Oh no.
And there's Raider like doing a bit like...
I don't know what you're talking about, this is funny.
Yeah. No, Season 17 will be... It'll be something different and something a little extra special. But, this is, where we close the door on this season, and probably more than likely SKL's... When I say close SKL's time on YouTube, I don't mean you won't ever see SKL on YouTube in 2022. You'll simply see the recorded version of what was previously live on Twitch. Because here's the thing, folks. If I can become an affiliate on Twitch, I could also possibly get paid for it as well, which is a nice little perk. Which is something Oni's found out for himself.
Especially with me and the pun jar.
I'm just going to roll in bits. I'm going to shower in bits. Only you can't use it. I will do as I please. And
what?
And then I'm going to get myself a World Heavyweight title belt that says Lord Oni comes back to Eric Cartman. What the hell? MJ, you're welcome, buddy. I hate you. I love you
Damn
too.
you, MJ!
Oh, by the way, Raiden sent you a gift. What's this? You have been slandered. Signed, the Raiden.
Yeah.
And there's a bag of cheesy poops there. Like, I hate all of you.
And then Elma goes, oh, Odie, I've given you this gift. Why have you given me an Eric Cartman hat? You needed to keep your head warm at winter time. He just like screws it up. It's like, oh no, he's going. Oni Mania is running wild. Okay. Have a good Christmas, folks. Have a good festive holiday. Or say festive holidays to all, because it's more than Christmas that goes on this time of year. You have what one is because Ramadan's Islam, I think. What's Kwanzaa? Kwanzaa, thank you. And what's the one that
Diwali? Diwali's, I believe, is mostly Indian.
Ah. And then there's I'm really bad.
Hanukkah?
Thank you, Hanukkah. Thank you so much. That was the one I was looking for. So, happy Christmas, happy Ramadan, happy Hanukkah, and happy Kwanzaa. That covers all the bases. Just happy holidays to all. Goodwill to all. And let's just hope next year is better. Which, you know, that's a fair request. That's reasonable. Until season 10, thank you so much for tuning in. And thank you to everyone, whether it's in my audience, with my co-hosts, with my subscribers. Thank you for bringing me back to a good place this year. You don't know how much how much that's appreciated till you actually start feeling like yourself again. Because this year it's been an interesting one, to say the least.
Well, considering what's happened, it hasn't been exactly normal.
To call it not normal would
No,
be
it is not.
to call it not normal would be an improvement at this point. But nah. Thank you to everybody that's given me comforting and emotional support this year, and all I can say in return to you is thank you, and that your kindness is rewarded, and deservedly so. Until next time, good night from the night, and season's greetings.
Feliz Navidad.
Yeah. See you later. Have a great holidays. Hope for better days next year. In the new year.
Yes.
Seasons. Sorry.
Just be a good person overall. That's all.
Yes.
That's all it is to it.
Yeah. Don't be a Karen.
No, especially don't be a Karen.
Don't be a Karen. No.
Season's greetings to all, and just to inform everyone that on Christmas Eve, only Rakaku will be doing a 12-hour Christmas stream.
I'll be there.
Christmas stream.
And you may have heard him in the Power Rangers versus Power Rangers retrospective, but don't forget to follow Kaiju Noir and pick up his book Primal Warrior Draco Azul, Now available on Amazon, Kindle, and Comixology, both in physical and digital, for your reading pleasure.
Thank you, Stephen, for plugging my work. And next, I will go build my own working Iron Man suit. Let's face it, if he had the money, he would.
Mm-hmm.
And then I will go bother Raph by making him my butler. Master Noir, I do not believe that I am permitted to do that. Shut up, Raph! Got one more out there. I'm just imagining Kaiju as this, distinguished millionaire with Raph trying to be a butler. Yeah. Yeah. See you soon, folks. Have a good one.
Bye.
Yeah.